Well, thank you, Carina. That was a great introduction to your studio, but I'm really curious, how on earth did you come up with this style?
So remember I told you I was an artist by mistake?
Yes.
Okay, so I started sort of by mistake, and the style sort of started by mistake. If we could call up that piece of Ocean Storm, the first graphic. So this is the first piece I made, and I had taken all these classes to prove that I could do the metalsmithing. I had qualified to work in this open studio at Little House, which is a senior center that has a fabulous jewelry studio and lapidary studio, right? And the first piece I go to make there, I have this beautiful cabochon of ocean jasper, and I try and make the bezel and attach the bezel. And I melt through it. Up at the very top where you see that little ball, I messed up. So of course I yell, "Oh, beep." And everyone rushes over and said, "Did you hurt yourself? You know, what happened?" And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to realize I really don't know what I'm doing. They're going to make me go back and take the class again. And I said, "No, I just made a mistake. I'll start over." And this one woman, Adina McGill, came over and said, "You know, there's no such thing as a mistake in art. Just go with it." I'm like, well, if I'm going to mess it up, I'm going to really mess it up. And so I decided, you know, let's contort it, pervert it, distort it, whatever. And that's how it ended up. And I thought, you know what? This is really fun. I really like how it turned out. My blood pressure dropped while I was in the studio. And suddenly I was like, I wonder what I'm going to make today. So my whole thing is whatever happens, happens. And however the silver melts and however the rocks end up, that's art.
So each one turns out differently, but you don't control it.
No, I think my life is very controlling, so my art has not to be.
Right.
So I really try not to make it happen. So here, for instance, the Charoite piece had all of this texture going on, and I decided that the best way to echo that texture was with the petal of the iris. So if you can see the ridges and the grooves in the iris are echoing the Charoite. So that seemed like a good compliment to me. Here again, I've used a flower to echo the waviness in the rhodochrosite. The petals are all moving together. And in that particular case, that petal where the rhodochrosite is didn't turn out. When I cast it, it failed. And I said, ooh, oh, an opportunity. Yes, an opportunity, yes. And so that's where the rhodochrosite ended up.
Very nice.
So this is another piece where I had a very large stone that was sort of difficult to try and figure out. And then I had this big splatter, and somehow they ended up going together. And I thought that the splatter feathery fingers sort of echoed the mossy lace agate.
I really like the way it's in front of the stone in this one. That's beautiful.
It is, and actually that is a piece you can wear from either side, and so you could decide which is more prominent, the stone or the silver. So this is a piece called Craven because it's got a lot of holes. No, it's because it's crazy lace agate, and there is a hole that goes through that piece of stone, and I decided to echo that by marrying it with the piece with all the holes in the silver. And there's no way I control those holes. They really just sort of happen. When I whack that stone and let it splatter, it happens. All right, so this one is called Defiant because it gave me no end of grief. I had this beautiful chrysanthemum stone, and I said, I'm going to attach it to this piece of silver, somehow. And I tried prongs, and I tried bezels, and I tried all sorts of things. And then I finally said, I'm going to strap you down, and you're not going anywhere. So that's Defiant for you. This one, I had to echo what was happening in the stone, which was this sort of cavern, with what was happening in the silver. And I thought that they blended pretty well together. All right, so this is my most famous pair of cufflinks. They're called Covert, and they were bought by the CIA, and I'm not kidding. I was at the Museum Store Association show, and this man I'd been chatting with and joking with for a number of years now, but who had told me at the very beginning, you know, we're the CIA museum, we sell things like handcuffs, we don't sell jewelry. Finally came and was chatting with me and said, well, you know, you should buy something for yourself. You should have something for yourself of my work because, you know, you're such a fun guy. And he said, well, you probably don't make cufflinks, do you? And I'm like, yes, I make cufflinks. And in fact, I have a pair that are called covert. And I'd call them covert because they cover up the stone. And that's how I had managed to sort of contain the stone in the piece. So he did purchase them, and they are now currently in use at the CIA. So this one is called Clues because the stone is Chinese writing stone. That is the common name for the stone. But I haven't a clue what it says in Chinese, so it's called Clues. Let's see. Now here is a piece where I wanted the piece to work on both sides. So you'll see the next slide will show you the back side. It was a piece of turquoise from the Sleeping Beauty mine, and it's gorgeous all the way around. So I couldn't figure out which side was the front and which side was the back. So instead I created this sort of orbiting nest, and it's called SShe print because the circles sort of repeat and interlace and never really end. But it's a piece that can be worn on either side or all sides, and it's fun.
That's a great idea.
So this is a piece that really is a very good example of my scraps style. As you know, I recycle all the silver and the gold, and people give me everything from coins, old jewelry, teeth with gold fillings. Yeah, I prefer not to have teeth. But anyways, so here somebody had given me a set of earrings that I purchased from them. And I was going to melt it down, but then I saw all of the grooves in the earring piece, and then I thought of this red tiger eye and decided that it was a good match. So this is a piece where the stone was really ugly in and of itself. It was gray, it was sort of boring, had no color, and it kept reminding me of elephant skin. And then I happened upon this elephant charm that was in my recycling pile, and there you go. And here's one of the gold pieces. These tend to be a little smaller given the price of gold lately, and I do tend to send them with more precious stones like peridot. But this piece really looked like a piece of meteorite. So in Beverly Hills, everyone who came by wanted belt buckles. So I had to figure out how to make belt buckles. And here's one that I called Splish because it's got this little splish of gold on the plane of silver.
Beautiful.
I think that that's all the slides that I brought to show you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. There's such wonderful work and very vibrant colors. I really enjoy looking at it. Very nice work.
I really love to work with color and texture, and I think nature makes such amazing things.
Oh, yes.
So my laziness comes into play because all I want to do is create a vehicle for them.
Yes, they're very nice. So you are an artist in the Silicon Valley Open Studios.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us a little bit about what you think the benefits are for being an Open Studios artist.
Well, one of the biggest benefits to me is all of the fabulous things I get to trade for, like this beautiful shawl, all the things that you saw in my studio, all of the art there I've traded with other artists I exhibit with. Another big benefit to me are the ideas that I get. You know, yes. Working by yourself as an artist can be very isolating. So it's nice to go and be with people, especially people in other media. I happen to exhibit at the Great American Framing Company in downtown Palo Alto, yes. And they are a fabulous host, Jim and Jamil. Well, so I had this one customer who was a man who said, I'm buying these things for my wife, but you know, I really would like to be able to look at them when she's not wearing them. Well, here I am sitting in a framing shop, yes. And look what we came up with in collaboration with Jim and Jamil. So we created these frames with a little hook in them. So when you're wearing the piece, it's on you. But when you're not wearing the piece, it can be a piece of wall art.
Very nice idea.
So it's been a fabulous new business line. I've also gotten the idea from them to make cufflinks because Jamil's a big cufflink person. So the other thing I found is that I'm really inspired by the floral art and the flowers that people incorporate. And so that sort of got my mind thinking, and I ended up casting flowers to incorporate in my work. So the stuff you trade for, the ideas you get,
yes,
and frankly, the fellowship. I have made some really good friends, and I've gotten lots of tips about, you know, constant contact marketing, different ways of promoting my work. I I get feedback about my displays, all sorts of good advice.
Yes, excellent. So, with all of these rocks that you have, the mineral specimens, where do you find them?
That is the $60 million question.
That's the secret. Are
Yeah,
you going
that
to
is
tell
the
us
secret.
more secrets? Come on, you could tell us.
You know, I don't actually find them myself. I don't go, you know, splunking in caves. I have picked up some pieces of really beautiful granites from Tahoe and stuff, but these are really mineral specimens from all over the world. So Tucson is this big confab. It's like 29 huge shows that each happen for about a week. They are each about the size of a football field, filled with, you know, 10 by 10 foot squares. And you get miners, dealers, cutters, people from all over the world. I mean, so there's people who have these cut and polished tanzanites, and right next to them you've got these African tribesmen with these gunny sacks full of tourmaline rough, and they just sort of pour it on the table and say, what do you like?
Oh,
so
rock lovers heaven.
It is,
oh.
it is. It's a very expensive place to indulge in your secret passions for stones.
Well, Carina, thank you very much for being on Talk Art. All your wonderful jewelry has really been inspiring. I really appreciate you being here. And
Thanks.
thank you for watching our show, Talk Art.